Welcome back. This video will provide a brief introduction to the Audiogram Table in HearForm Pro. Perhaps the easiest way to get to the Audiogram Table is to click the Audiology button and then the Audiogram Table button. Well, a table is simply an area where all of your data is stored. In this case, we're displaying 7 records or rows out of 471. Those 7 belong to Jennifer. And in this area, I can see the patient's name, their unique identifier number called the key, the date of test, hearing loss degree for both right and left ears, the average pure tone or pure tone average for both right and left, an image of the chart, and then some audiometric information. I can click Modify in the upper right and show additional information simply by clicking one of the buttons here. So if I click right here, then you can see an additional chart shows up behind the scenes. I'm going to hide that because I don't necessarily need to see it. So there is some modification in this area that you can do. I'm going to cancel that, not save any of my changes. So you can't change much information in this area because we only want you to modify, edit, or change that information in the audiometric module itself. But you can see it displayed here, and this may or may not have value depending on what your needs are. So you can also stretch a column like this. You can't quite tell that that's left 1500, but if you stretch it a little bit wider, then you can see that if needed. Just keep that in mind. So I'll stretch 4000 and then show you something else here. So these buttons over here, just like with other parts of tables, you can go to the first row or the last row. That's especially helpful if you show all audiograms and want to go to the end or beginning very quickly. You can go back to the audiogram portal where we started. You can unsort rows, and what that means is if they're not in an order that they start out, I should say, in the order they were entered into the system. But if you've sorted them based on any other category, for example, let's just sort by average pure tone left. Not that there's much of a need to do that, but you get the idea. If I unsort, instead of it saying found 7 that are sorted, it will put them back in the order that they were entered into the system. We can export that information by clicking a button, and it will take your found set of records and export that to Excel so that you can see that information there. It is limited. You have a fair amount of information. Some of it is in our system, some of it is not. I didn't enter, for example, some noise scores and things like that, but it will export quite a bit of information, but not 100% of everything in your table. You can click the Ask Me Export, and that will take longer, but it will give you more options, and then you can include or exclude any fields that you don't want in your export. We can delete a selected audiogram from here, but generally you would probably want to do that from the audiometric screen, but you can do that if desired. And then finally, this button right here, delete all audiogram images. You may not have sufficient rights to do that, but it's very helpful to occasionally optimize your HearForm file by deleting all your audiogram images. Let me explain what I mean. The audiogram image, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see it a little bit better and scroll over to the right. This image is, this graph is simply an image, a picture that was created by a plugin and in HearForm, and it basically just takes your audiometric information and puts it in a view that makes sense to you, that you're used to here. Well, those images are great, but they take up a certain amount of space. I can't remember exactly, but around 1 to 200 kilobytes per audiogram. Now, if you have 1,000 audiograms in the system, after a while it starts to bloat the size of HearForm. So as I scroll back out, you may find that it's not necessary to have all those images in your system, which takes longer to back up HearForm and can slow it down in other areas. So you may see the value in deleting all of those images, and you may say, well, how do I get those back? Let's just do that. I'm going to click Delete All Audiogram Images. Would you like to? Yes, I would. We'll delete those. Now it's going to show me all images here. I'm going to do another search for Jennifer and just bring hers back, and you can see those images are gone. But it's easy enough, if I go back to the home screen, it's easy enough to bring those back. Let's just go for a given patient. This first one comes back automatically, but I can refresh. It takes a minute to do it, but I can bring those images back. It rebuilds the images essentially, but just on an as-needed basis. So you may have patients who were tested 10 years ago, and you really don't necessarily need to see the image of their information. All of the actual data down below here, 50, 50, 65, 75, etc., that's all still saved. We don't remove any of your audiometric information, just the images, because the images are really what takes up a lot of space. So going back to the audiogram table, periodically we can help you with this if you're not comfortable, but it really doesn't hurt anything to delete all your audiogram images periodically and optimize the size of your file. Please watch some of the other training videos for an explanation of how to use the audiometric module itself. And thanks very much for watching.